The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled like a jewel among the stars. Its crystal walls reached up into the artificial atmosphere of Space Station Alpha, where the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Today, they gathered to decide the fate of Earth. Ambassador Tom Miller stood in the center of the chamber, his black diplomatic suit a stark contrast to the flowing robes and biosuits of the alien council members. His face remained calm, but his hands, clasped behind his back, were tight with tension. "The evidence is clear," spoke Council Leader Gray, his tall, silver-skinned form towering over the human ambassador. "Your species has stolen classified technology from multiple council races. The punishment for such actions is containment." Miller looked up at the semicircle of alien faces. Some showed smugness, others fear, and a few displayed what humans would call guilt. Only Council Member Robert White, whose crystalline form sparkled with concerned colors, seemed troubled by the proceedings. "I ask the Council to present this evidence," Miller said, his voice steady. "Earth has followed every regulation, every law since joining the galactic community. We demand to see proof of these accusations." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed what appeared to be humans in stealth suits breaking into a research facility. Miller's eyes narrowed as he studied the footage. "These are clearly fabricated," he stated firmly. "The movement patterns are wrong. Those aren't humans." Leader Gray's face twisted into what passed for a smile among his kind. "The Council has already voted, Ambassador. Your protests are noted but irrelevant." Before Miller could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The massive view screens activated automatically, showing hundreds of warships appearing from hyperspace around Earth. Their designs were familiar to everyone present. The combined fleet of the Council's military forces. "What is the meaning of this?" Miller demanded, his diplomatic calm cracking for the first time. "This is an act of war. This is containment," Leader Gray announced. "Earth has proven too dangerous to allow free access to the stars. Your rapid advancement, your aggressive expansion, your unpredictability. The Council has decided that humanity must be restricted to their solar system until they learn proper obedience." Miller's face went pale, but his voice remained strong. "The people of Earth will never accept this. We have rights under galactic law." "Laws that we created," interrupted another council member, their insectoid mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "Laws that we can modify as needed." The chamber screen showed more ships appearing around Earth, hundreds, then thousands. A blockade was forming, cutting humanity's homeworld off from the rest of the galaxy. Council Member White floated forward, his crystalline body pulsing with agitated colors. "This is wrong," he stated. "We cannot punish a species based on fabricated evidence. I demand a full investigation." "The vote has been cast," Leader Gray said dismissively. "Earth will be contained. Their ships will be turned back. Their colonies will be relocated. This is the will of the Council." Miller stood silent for a long moment, looking at each council member in turn. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, harder, colder. "You believe you understand humanity," he said quietly. "You believe you know what we're capable of. You're wrong. Every race here evolved through natural selection. But humanity, we evolved through adversity, through warfare, through countless attempts to destroy ourselves and surviving anyway." He stepped forward, making several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. "You think this blockade will contain us? You think these ships will make us submit?" A small, dangerous smile crossed his face. "You have no idea what you've just started." With those words, Ambassador Miller turned and walked out of the council chamber, leaving behind a silence heavy with unspoken threats and growing fear. None of the council members noticed the small device he had left behind, quietly transmitting everything to Earth's leadership. The containment of Earth had begun, but so had humanity's response. Council member Robert White moved silently through the dark corridors of Space Station Alpha's restricted section. His crystalline body was dimmed to near invisibility, absorbing most of the light that touched it. After 50 years of serving on the council, this was the first time he had ever broken into the secure archives. The events of the past day troubled him deeply. The vote against Earth had been too quick, too unified. Something wasn't right. He reached the main archive terminal and placed his hand on the scanner. As a council member, he had high-level access, but not to everything. Not to the files he suspected existed. "Computer," he whispered, "access protocol review files, last solar cycle." The screen lit up with a warning message. "Access denied. Council leader authorization required." White smiled. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small device, a gift from a human friend months ago. "Just in case," the human had said with a wink. At the time, White had thought it was just another example of human paranoia. Now he knew better. The device connected to the terminal, running programs that shouldn't exist. Within moments, the screen changed, displaying thousands of classified files. What he found made his crystalline form pulse with shock and anger. The first file was dated 3 months ago, Operation Human Containment, Phase 1. As he read further, his color shifted to deep red, a sign of rage among his people. The evidence against Earth had been manufactured. The Council's older races had planned this from the start. More files revealed an even darker truth. Earth had been marked for resource extraction centuries ago, before humans had achieved spaceflight. The Council had expected to harvest the planet's resources and enslave its primitive population. But humans had developed too quickly. They had reached the stars before the Council's scheduled invasion. Worse, they had started innovating at a pace that terrified the older races. A new message flashed on his screen. "CQRITBRDACH White quickly downloaded everything he could to his device. As he turned to leave, he found himself face to face with 2 Council security guards. "Counselor White," one guard said, raising a weapon, "you are not authorized to access these files." White's body suddenly shifted, becoming mirror bright. The guards fired, but their energy weapons reflected off his crystalline form, stunning them both. "Thank you for the self-defense lessons, Tom," White muttered, thinking of the human ambassador who had insisted he learn to protect himself. He rushed through the corridors, his mind racing faster than his feet. The files had revealed more than just the plot against Earth. They showed centuries of manipulation, dozens of younger races held back or destroyed because they developed too quickly. The Council wasn't a governing body. It was a prison guard, keeping the galaxy's younger races from threatening the power of the oldest civilizations. White reached his private quarters and activated his quantum communicator, another human gift. Unlike regular communications, this one couldn't be blocked or traced. "Ambassador Miller," he said urgently, "I have proof. The Council, they've been planning this for centuries. It's not just about Earth. They've done this before, to other races." He transmitted the files, knowing that human encryption would protect them. "The blockade isn't about punishment. They're afraid of you. Humanity has achieved in 50 years what took other races centuries. They're terrified of what you'll become in another 50. There was a pause before Miller responded. When he did, his voice was calm, too calm. "We suspected something like this. Thank you, Robert. You should get somewhere safe now. Things are about to change." "What do you mean?" White asked. "Let's just say the Council isn't the only one who can make plans," Miller replied. "Stay safe, friend. The next few days are going to be very interesting." As if to confirm Miller's words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. White looked out his window at the blockade fleet surrounding Earth. Something was happening down there. And somehow, he knew humanity wasn't nearly as helpless as the Council believed. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a command center that officially didn't exist, Admiral James Stone watched the holographic display of Earth and the blockading fleet. His weathered face showed no fear as he studied the thousands of alien ships surrounding his homeworld. "They'd really think they've trapped us," he said, a slight smile crossing his face. He turned to face the room full of military leaders from around the world. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to activate Protocol Thunderstorm." The room erupted in activity. Officers rushed to their stations, entering codes and establishing secure connections across the globe. "Send the wake-up call," Stone ordered. Across the galaxy, seemingly ordinary humans, merchants, traders, maintenance workers, and countless others received a simple message: weather forecast. Thunder. On board the Council's massive dreadnought, a cleaning worker named Jack stopped his work and walked calmly to the ship's engine room. Throughout the blockade fleet, similar scenes played out as hidden human agents began their carefully planned missions. Back in the command center, a young officer spoke up. "Admiral, all sleeper cells report ready, awaiting your command." Stone nodded and pressed a button on his command console. "This is Admiral Stone to all Earth Defense Forces. Show them what humanity is really capable of." The response was immediate and devastating. In orbit, dozens of seemingly primitive human cargo ships suddenly transformed. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced weapon systems that shouldn't have existed. The simple engines that the Council had approved for human use turned out to be much more powerful than anyone suspected. "First wave, engage," Stone commanded. "Let's show them why you don't corner a species that spent its entire history preparing for war." The human ships moved with impossible speed and precision. They had spent years pretending to be slow and clumsy, letting the Council underestimate them. Now they demonstrated their true capabilities. Inside the Council fleet, chaos erupted. Ship after ship reported system failures as hidden human agents activated sabotage protocols that had been years in the making. Emergency systems failed. Weapons wouldn't fire. Communications broke down. "Sir," another officer called out, "Council ships are reporting complete navigation system failures. Their FTL drives are locked out." Stone allowed himself a grim smile. 50 years they've been feeding us their approved technology, thinking we'd just accept it without understanding it, without improving it, without building in our own backdoors. The holographic display showed the Council fleet in disarray. Ships collided as their control systems failed. Others found themselves unable to maintain their positions as their engines responded to hidden human commands. In the command center, a screen lit up with Ambassador Miller's face. "The Council is in emergency session," he reported. "They're demanding to know how we're doing this." "Tell them nothing," Stone replied. "Let them worry about what else we might have planned." Miller nodded. "Our allies in the younger races are standing by. They've seen what's happening. The Council's fear of us has just been proven right." And wrong. At the same time, Stone turned to address the command center. "For centuries, the Council has kept younger races down, afraid of competition. They thought they could do the same to us." He paused, watching as more Council ships fell into disarray. "They forgot something important about humans. We don't just adapt. We prepare. We plan. We look at every piece of technology they gave us and think, how could this be better? How could this be used differently?" The display showed more human ships emerging from hidden bases on Earth's moon and Mars, ships that were far more advanced than anything the Council thought humans possessed. "Send word to all Earth forces," Stone commanded. "Operation Thunderstorm is in full effect. Show them exactly why humanity survived every disaster our world threw at us, and remind them why you should never, ever back a human into a corner." Around Earth, the mighty Council fleet was in chaos, their own technology turned against them by the very species they had tried to contain. Humanity's response had begun, and it was more terrible than anything the Council had imagined. The storm had arrived, and there would be no shelter from its fury. The Council's emergency chamber was in chaos. Alien leaders shouted and argued as more reports of fleet failures poured in. Council leader Gray stood at the center, his silver skin now dull with stress. "Impossible," he shouted, watching another display of human ships effortlessly outmaneuvering the Council's finest vessels. Their technology was monitored, restricted. How are they doing this? A new voice cut through the chaos. You made a mistake, Ambassador Miller said, walking into the chamber uninvited. You thought restricting our technology would keep us weak. Instead, it made us creative. The chamber's screens suddenly changed, showing scenes from across the galaxy. On countless worlds, human merchants, tourists, and workers were revealing their true capabilities. On the trading hub of Market Station, a simple shop owner named Bill pressed a hidden button under his counter. Instantly, the station's defense systems went dark. Similar scenes play out on dozens of council stations and bases. You see, Miller continued, while you watched our ships, our weapons, our official technology, you forgot to watch our people. Humans are everywhere in this galaxy. Learning, watching, preparing. In deep space, the Council's primary fuel production facility suddenly shut down. The human maintenance chief, who had worked there for 10 years, calmly walked to his ship as the facility's systems crashed one by one. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone directed the next phase of the operation. Launch the Phantom Fleet, he ordered. Across the solar system, hidden bases activated. Ships emerged from beneath the surfaces of asteroids, from the clouds of Jupiter, from deep under Mars' polar ice, ships that no Council scan had ever detected. These, Miller said to the stunned Council, are what we can build when we're really trying. Not your approved designs, not your restricted technology. Pure human innovation. The new ships moved with incredible speed and precision. Their weapons were unlike anything the Council had seen. Combinations of multiple technologies that no one had thought to combine before. How? Leader Gray demanded. How did you hide all this? Miller smiled. You gave us quantum communication technology, thinking we couldn't improve it. But we did. Everything you gave us, we made better, stronger, more efficient. You never noticed because you were too busy looking down on us. On the screens, human ships began systematic attacks on key Council facilities. They didn't destroy them. They simply shut them down, using backdoors and weaknesses that humans had discovered and kept secret for years. Here's what's going to happen, Miller announced to the Council. You're going to end this blockade. You're going to acknowledge humanity's right to develop without restriction. And you're going to face the consequences of centuries of holding other races back. A Council member stood up, their insectoid form trembling with rage. Or what? You'll destroy us? No, Miller replied calmly. We're not like you. We don't destroy potential allies. Instead, we're going to share everything we've learned. Every improvement we've made to your technology. Every innovation you tried to prevent. We're going to share it with every race you've ever tried to control. The chamber fell silent. This was worse than destruction. This was the end of their control. Your choice is simple, Miller continued. Work with us to create a fair and open galaxy, or watch as we dismantle your power piece by piece. Admiral Stone's voice came through Miller's communicator. The Phantom Fleet has secured all primary targets. Council military capability is down to 15% and falling. No casualties. Miller looked at each Council member in turn. Well, what's it going to be? Because let me tell you something about humans. This isn't even everything we can do. This is just what we prepared for this one scenario. Imagine what else we might have planned. The Council chamber remained silent as the leaders of the galaxy's oldest civilizations realized that their greatest fear had come true. Humanity hadn't just caught up to them. They had surpassed them. The galaxy was changing. On 1,000 worlds, the truth was spreading like wildfire. Every public screen, every data network, every communication channel showed the same thing. Proof of the Council's centuries of manipulation. In the Earth Command Center, Admiral Stone watched as the carefully planned information campaign unfolded. Next to him stood Lisa Reed, Earth's Chief of Intelligence, her tablet showing real-time updates from across the galaxy. The data dumps are complete, she reported. Every race in the galaxy now has access to the files Council Member White discovered, plus all our own evidence gathered over the last 50 years. Stone nodded, watching the screens showing reactions from different worlds. And the younger races. Responding exactly as predicted, Lisa replied with a slight smile. The Star Empire of Proxima has already declared independence from Council oversight. The Belt colonies are demanding immediate access to unrestricted technology, and the Deep Space Federation is calling for a complete restructuring of galactic governance. On the main screen, they watched as Council Leader Gray tried desperately to maintain control of an emergency session. The chamber was in uproar as representatives from younger races demanded answers. "You kept us dependent," shouted the representative from the Proxima Empire, their bioluminescent form flashing with anger. "While humans advanced in decades what you claimed would take centuries." Another representative, this one from the Belt colonies, stood up. "We found human improvements to Council technology in our own systems. Improvements that made our lives better. Improvements the Council said were impossible." In the corner of the chamber, Ambassador Miller stood quietly, watching the Council's authority crumble. His communicator buzzed with a message from Admiral Stone. "Phase 5 complete. Begin diplomatic initiative." Miller stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. "The people of Earth propose a solution." All eyes turned to him. Even the angry representatives fell silent. "For too long, the Council has operated on fear," Miller continued. "Fear of change, fear of progress, fear of losing control. We offer a different path." He activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing a new structure of galactic governance. One where power was shared, where innovation was encouraged, where younger races had an equal voice. "Humanity doesn't want to rule," Miller declared. "We want to collaborate, to share knowledge, to help build a galaxy where every race can reach its full potential." The chamber erupted in discussion. Younger races' representatives moved together, forming impromptu alliances. The older Council members watched helplessly as their power structure crumbled. Back in the command center, Lisa showed Stone new data. "We're seeing unprecedented cooperation between younger races. They're already sharing resources, technology, ideas. It's like they were just waiting for someone to break the Council's control." "Humans do love an underdog story," Stone replied with a smile. "Especially when we get to be the ones helping the underdogs." On dozens of worlds, crowds gathered in streets and public spaces. They watched screens showing the Council's lies exposed, humanity's achievements revealed, and the promise of a new future taking shape. Council Leader Gray stood up, his silver skin now almost white with stress. "You planned this," he accused Miller. "All of it. The technology, the agents, the information, the alliances. You meant for this to happen from the beginning." Miller nodded. "We learned from history. Every empire that tried to control through restriction, through fear, through artificial limits, they all fall eventually. We just decided to speed up the process." He turned to address the entire chamber. "The choice is yours. Join us in building something better, or stand aside as the galaxy moves forward without you." One by one, representatives of the younger races stood up, declaring their support for Earth's proposal. The age of Council control was ending. A new era was beginning. And humanity, the race the Council had tried to contain, was leading the way. The Earth Command Center's main screen showed a sight no one had ever expected to see: the Council's mighty FTL network shutting down one gate at a time. Red warning lights spread across the galactic map like a wave of crimson stars going dark. Admiral Stone stood at the center of the command room, his face illuminated by the emergency lighting. "Begin Operation Checkmate," he ordered. Across the galaxy, hidden human agents activated special devices they had planted years ago. The Council's precious faster-than-light travel network, the very system they had used to control trade, movement, and communication, was being shut down by human technology. In the Council chamber, Leader Gray received the reports with growing horror. "What have you done?" he demanded, turning to Ambassador Miller, who had just walked in. "Do you realize what you've done?" Miller's face showed no emotion. "We've done exactly what you forced us to do. You tried to trap us in our solar system. Instead, we've trapped you in yours." The chamber's screen showed chaos spreading across Council space. Without the FTL network, their carefully controlled empire was falling apart. Ships were stranded. Supply lines were cut. Entire systems were suddenly isolated. But how? A council member asked, their insectoid mandibles clicking in distress. "The network was protected by our most advanced security." "True," Miller replied. "But you gave us maintenance contracts. Small ones. Repair jobs. Minor upgrades. Each time, we learned a little more. Each time, we left something behind. Something waiting for today." Back on Earth, Lisa Reed handed Admiral Stone a datapad. "Sir, reports coming in from all sectors. The Council's primary military bases are cut off. Their fleets are scattered. Their supply lines are broken." Stone nodded. "And our ships? Already in position." Lisa replied with a smile. "Our FTL drives don't need their network. Never did. We just pretended they did." In the council chamber, Miller walked to the center platform, the same spot where, days ago, he had stood accused. Now he stood as an accuser. "For centuries, you've used the FTL network as a weapon," he declared, "denying access to races you didn't like, controlling where people could go, what they could trade, how they could develop. That ends today." He activated a holographic display showing Earth ships appearing near every major council world, not with weapons ready, but with something far more dangerous. Information. "You're wondering why we haven't attacked," Miller continued. "Why our ships are just sitting there. It's because they're broadcasting, showing every citizen of every world exactly what their leaders have been doing, every secret, every lie, every manipulation." The council members watched in horror as their own people began to revolt. Centuries of careful control were unraveling in hours. "We could have destroyed you," Miller said quietly. "But that's not what humanity does. We don't destroy. We change things. We make them better. And right now, we're giving everyone in the galaxy a choice." In the command center, Stone watched as more and more systems declared independence from council control. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Show them what we're offering." The Earth ships began broadcasting new information, plans for independent FTL drives, designs for advanced technology, offers of trade, alliance, and cooperation, without council oversight. The council once accused humanity of being too aggressive, too unpredictable. Miller announced to the chamber, "You were right. We are unpredictable. Because when you backed us into a corner, instead of surrendering, we changed the entire game." He looked at each council member in turn. "Your choice is simple. Step down peacefully and help us build something better, or watch as every world you ever controlled chooses freedom instead." Leader Gray slumped in his chair, his silver skin dull with defeat. "You planned this from the beginning," he whispered. "From the very first day we contacted Earth." Miller smiled. "No, we planned for everything. This was just the plan that you forced us to use." The galaxy watched and waited as the Council's power crumbled, not through violence, but through the most powerful force humans had mastered, the power of choice. 1 month after Operation Checkmate, the galaxy looked very different. The Great Hall that once housed the Galactic Council had been transformed. Gone were the elevated seats that kept the older races above the others. Gone were the barriers that separated species by their technological level. In their place stood a circular chamber where all representatives sat as equals. Ambassador Miller stood at the speaking platform, looking at the assembled representatives of over 100 species. Some faces showed hope, others uncertainty, and a few, mostly from the former council races, showed carefully hidden fear. "The last month has shown us something important," Miller began. "When given freedom to grow, people will amaze you. Already, 30 different worlds have developed their own FTL systems using Earth's shared designs. 15 more have created new technologies by combining their traditional knowledge with unrestricted access to galactic science. Behind him, screens showed scenes from across the galaxy. Trade ships moving freely between systems, new colonies being established, former council worlds working together with younger races as equals. In Earth's command center, Admiral Stone watched the proceedings with Lisa Reed at his side. "Hard to believe it's only been a month," Lisa said, reviewing reports on her tablet. "The galaxy's changing faster than anyone predicted." Stone nodded. "That's what happens when you stop holding people back. They fly." The screen showed more images. Former Council leader Gray working with scientists from younger races, sharing the knowledge his people had hoarded for centuries. Council member White leading a team to dismantle the last of the control systems that had kept the galaxy in check. In the Great Hall, Miller continued his speech. "Today, we establish the Galactic Alliance. Not an empire, not a council, an alliance of equals. Every world, every species, every culture contributing what they do best." He activated a holographic display showing the new charter. No more restricted technology. No more artificial limits on development. No more holding worlds back because we fear what they might become. The former council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Miller turned to address them directly. "You tried to contain humanity because you feared what we might become. Instead, you forced us to become something greater, not conquerors, but liberators. Not rulers, but teachers." A representative from a young spacefaring race stood up. "And what guarantees do we have that Earth won't become the new council? That humans won't try to control us just as they did?" Miller smiled. "Look around you. Every piece of technology we've developed, we've shared. Every advancement we've made, we've taught to others. We don't want to rule a galaxy. We want to explore it, alongside all of you." Back in the command center, Stone received a final report. "Sir, the last of the old council control systems have been dismantled. The galaxy is truly free." "Not free," Stone corrected. "Independent. There's a difference." In the Great Hall, representatives began signing the new charter. Former enemies became allies. Former prisoners became partners. The galaxy was transforming into something new. Council member White, his crystalline form glowing with bright, hopeful colors, approached Miller. "You know," he said quietly, "when I first discovered the Council's plans, I feared what would happen. I feared Earth's revenge would destroy everything." Miller nodded. "That's the difference between fear and understanding. The Council feared what we might do, so they tried to cage us. You understood what we could do, so you helped us free everyone." As the signing continued, Miller looked out at the changed galaxy. Humanity had been pushed into a corner, faced with containment and control. They had responded not with destruction, but with transformation. Not with conquest, but with liberation. The Council had feared humanity's potential for violence, never understanding that their greatest power was not in their ability to fight, but in their ability to change, to adapt, and to help others do the same. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity had planned all along.